Hello, and welcome to Saturday Morning Cartoons, the weekly podcast that revisits, reviews, and ridicules the world's weirdest animated series. I am your host tonight. I am a 10-year-old fifth grader who loves to draw. I am, of course, Sean Paul Ellis. Oh, sitting across from me right now, he wields the red chalk. It is the director of Crowded Elevator Pictures. It is Tony Lazzaroni. Tony, welcome back to the show, buddy.
Thank you very much. Glad to be back.
Excellent. And to the left of me, we have somebody who is wielding the white lightning chalk. It is the all-around great gal of this podcast, Melanie Harker. Melanie, how are you doing?
That is so cute. I wield the white chalk of power.
I just love that you've laid out the room for those of our listeners that are not here in the room with us right now, which is all of them.
You know exactly where we're sitting. You know how our butt imprints these seats, and you know what kind of people we are. Very intimately. Very intimately.
Oh my god! If you, fellow listener, have not figured this out, we are, of course, talking about ChalkZone because this is a continuation of our September Back to School month. And so ChalkZone is another cartoon that we will be talking about that has a school-related tone to it. So if you did not watch this show, or if you are not familiar with ChalkZone, let me tell you a little bit more about it. It is an American animated television series that was created by Bill Burnett and Larry Huber for Nickelodeon. The series follows Rudy, and I just love this name, Rudy to Booty.
I don't want to accept that as true.
That's his name, is Rudy to Booty. And it's ta booty, exactly how you think it would be spelled. No, I'm kidding. It's Tabootie.
That's close.
Right.
Booty like the shoe booty.
And yet they are white.
Correct.
The family is white.
Why would the family? Now I'm confused.
What? You think that's a normal white last name?
No, it certainly is not Anglo-Saxon.
I'll be honest. I'll be honest
with
you. Like, it's surprising because Tabootie, I have no idea what nationality this would
Rudy
be
Tabootie
from.
and his family's from Djibouti.
Djibouti.
Give me all the points right now.
Oh my god.
Rudy Djibouti from Djibouti.
That was a full-on face palm scratch from top to bottom.
But
No, I get like Indian or Bangladeshi or something like that from it. That's more what I got from the name, but could just be me.
Let's rewrite this show right now.
So we have Rudy Tabootie, and Rudy Tabootie is an elementary school student whose magic chalk allows him to go to ChalkZone, which is an alternate dimension where everything is drawn on a blackboard and erased becomes real. The show concentrates on the adventures of Rudy and his sidekick Snap, who is a small blue kind of superhero-ish kind of little caped character, and classmate Penny Sanchez, who hang out with him in the zone. Should say Snap exists in ChalkZone. Penny is from the real world.
Penny's a human.
Penny is a human.
A human
that comes in with
female.
him.
The only one that knows about ChalkZone.
And so ChalkZone originally aired as part of the Oh Yeah Cartoons animated short showcase in 1998, and the series ran on Nickelodeon from March of 2002 through August of 2008 with 40 episodes in total, and it was produced by Federator Studios and Nickelodeon Animation Studios.
This is one that spun off from those shorts.
Yeah.
Fairly Odd Parents was the other the much bigger one between the two. Because this is not one that I was familiar with going into it.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny too because Federator does a bunch of some of my favorite cartoons that are out there right now, and it includes Adventure Time, it includes Bravest Warriors if anybody's watched that, and I'm gonna venture to say that it also includes, and I'm looking this up as we say this, but I'm pretty sure it's Crystal Gems as well. Steven Universe, as well as also Bee and Puppy Cat. So Federator does a lot of really, really, really cool stuff, which is very fun. So
I'm so happy to hear they have Bee and Puppy Cat.
I know. So it is very interesting. So did either of you remember
Adventure Time? Yeah.
Now do either of you, did you watch the Oh Yeah block of cartoons on Nickelodeon?
No.
And did ChalkZone ever stick out for you?
I feel like Oh, sorry, Tony.
No. I was gonna say
Tony,
I haven't watched those, but I mean the concept on this one stuck out for me, but not historically. No.
So it was sort of like out there. You had heard about it, zeitgeist wise, maybe, but never actually watched an episode.
I feel like I've seen little bits and pieces of it, maybe advertising some point on Nickelodeon or something.
Okay.
I have nieces that grew up around that time, so maybe it was something that was on in the background when they were running around. So.
Gotcha.
But not specifically. The concept I thought was really interesting, but
right.
We'll get into that in a second.
Melanie, was this something that you had watched that you remembered?
I did not watch this at all.
Even now.
It's so funny. I will not watch it ever again. It's funny because I feel like I recall the block of Oh Yeah cartoons. I don't when I heard that this was the episode we were doing today, I was like, I'm sure that ChalkZone is like an early 90s cartoon that I missed. Nope. I had no idea it was Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
But I watched a lot of Fairly Odd Parents. That's what's so weird about this is that I feel like I watched Fairly Odd Parents from like the moment it came on, but I never heard of ChalkZone, which doesn't seem to be logical.
Yeah.
So maybe I just watched an episode and then like smacked myself in the face with a frying pan so that I'd forget that I had watched the episode.
This was like Fairly Odd Parents lead in or something like that. And so you never tuned in for this one.
I was just too busy trying to black out from ChalkZone to get to Fairly Odd Parents.
Well, I mean, for the Oh Yeah block of cartoons that they had, so there were Fairly Odd Parents that I think we all remember and we had watched. There was ChalkZone, My Life as a Teenage Robot.
Also, don't remember that.
I remember that one.
Don't know what the fuck that is.
It was about a young teenage...
Was it about a teenage robot?
It was about a female teenage robot.
All right.
There was Danny Phantom, which was actually, I believe, done by the same group that did Fairly Odd Parents because it shared a lot of the same common animation style.
I remember that one.
And then there was another one that was called Tough Puppy, like
I remember
Tuff.
Tough Puppy.
I don't remember Tough Puppy at all.
There we go. Okay.
I don't remember Tough Puppy.
I remember Tough Puppy.
Any way, shape, or form. But I do remember from this Oh Yeah cartoon block, I do distinctly remember, obviously, the Fairly Odd Parents. Mm-hmm. I remember watching some ChalkZone, so I was kind of curious to go back to it. My Life as a Teenage Robot, and I don't remember Danny Phantom or Tough Puppy. So kind of interesting, that we have a lot of these Nicktoons, and then we also have some of these other studios that are working with Nick in order to produce some of these cartoons. I guess it's just sort of interesting to see sort of, what ends up getting classified as a Nicktoon, as like a specific Nicktoon, and then sort of what ends up coming in on the fringe, because some of those shows are all
Nick down in the corner.
Yeah, like Nick.
It's not an actual Nicktoon.
Nick side piece.
It's a tune on Nick.
Nick Sidecar.
Nick sidecar. So
Nick side piece.
Nick is like,
slip that one in there.
Nick is like, it's all right, guys. You can hop into my fanny pack.
Get out of my dreams.
And into my fanny pack.
Into my fanny pack. That's exactly how the song went.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it was very interesting because I remembered ChalkZone very loosely, and I had an idea of what the premise was, but I could never remember or pinpoint a specific episode. So it was interesting to kind of jump back into it and have an opportunity to watch the show tonight. So before we get into the episode that we watched, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask everybody how they felt about the theme song. This ChalkZone. Melanie, how did you feel about the theme song? I feel like in this room right now you have opinions.
Rudy's got the ChalkZone. I loved this theme song. I loved it. And if the whole show could just be the theme song, I think I'd be much happier. It's fun. It's super fun. Yes, it's a little repetitive. It's a teeny bit repetitive.
It is unbelievably repetitive.
But it has this great rock guitar, electric guitar thing going on that for whatever reason reminds me of the evolution of Sonic the Hedgehog games, where the music was going, where it was just this I don't know, that uplifting guitar riff sound to it.
It had that late 90s kind of like guitar, like really like kind of like maybe power punk.
Power ballad, like, I don't know.
It's got that kind of chant feel to it. Da 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 da.
Oh my god!
Which is probably the part that really annoyed Sean.
It was. I've watched the theme song now 3 times today in anticipation for the conversation. With every time with the hope or expectation that I was going to enjoy it more than I did the previous time, and that never came true.
No.
I had a very hard time because of the repetitious nature of the theme song, and we should very clearly say that this intro music is a specific song for the theme music.
Yeah.
And it is a clips based. It's just a bunch of assembled clips from different episodes that are kind of backing this sort of like rallying cry to get excited about the show. I didn't really have an idea of what was going on. I don't feel like I had gotten an introduction to the characters except for Rudy.
Which is what you've grown to expect just from cartoons in general, which is that like you could watch an episode and somehow explained in that theme song is some sort of backstory so that you don't have to go back and find episode number 1.
Right.
You don't get that from this one.
Oh yeah. No.
It's a montage. Like it's a straight up, standard television show theme song. It's as useful as the Friends theme would be to explain what the show is about, we've had some pretty bad theme songs.
Some pretty terrible theme songs.
In the ones that, just in the shows that I've been on, let alone what you've done in the entirety of the catalog for Saturday morning cartoons. But this one wasn't terrible.
Thank you, Tony.
I would nestle this directly between, and we listened to the 2 different versions of the theme for Pro Stars. I would seat this between the one that is essentially "We Will Rock You" from Queen, and the one that is the rip-off piece of shit copy that is as close as they could get, I guess, without getting sued. I would put this halfway between the 2. Honestly, I don't think it's quite that bad. It's not "We Will Rock You," but not everybody's Queen.
Right. Nor should everybody be queen.
No.
There's only one queen.
Elizabeth. You're welcome.
But
Rudy's got the chalk.
But yeah,
Chalk,
it was
ChalkZone.
it was I got to the point after watching this where I paused for 2 seconds and I just mouthed the words, "I wonder if this show's about fucking chalk." And I felt like such an asshole. It was one of those things when you have somebody say something to you in such an overused, like overwrought sense, where they continue to say like one catchphrase or one word over and over, and you notice it and you pick up on it and you check out and you hear their vocal cadence over and over and over again, and you're like, I wonder if they're gonna say, yeah, they said the word. Like they said the word, and I anticipate. Oh, and they said it again.
Listen.
Great.
So this show aired from 2002 to 2008. What drugs were kids being put on at that point in time?
Oh my God!
That this could have been
about
trying
that.
to just bore straight on through into their skulls, so that they would remember the name of the show and they would go buy me the toys related to this show.
If you played it backwards, wonder what would happen.
Yep.
It'd probably be like, go to Toys R Us right now, buy everything.
If we could get the ChalkZone theme music on vinyl,
Yeah.
and go,
There you go.
grab my record player and just drag it backwards. And
I think this
it plays the
sounds-
Black Sabbath song.
This sounds like an adventure.
It plays Iron Man, which is really strange.
Oh, God.
So I was not. I can see the chanting nature, Tony, that you've mentioned, and I can see the guitar riff kind of
Amazingness.
okay, I'm not going to go that far, but the guitar riff portion that was in there, and I could see how it was kind of something that, as a sign of the time for some of these cartoons that we had that were in the late 90s, early 2000s, that it sort of had that pop punk feel to kind of like get you excited about the show. I just think it was something, because it seemed so basic to me. It didn't register with me. It wasn't something that I sat there thinking to myself like, oh, I can't wait to watch this show. If that was my first impression, which it was, of kind of jumping back into ChalkZone, I was hesitant to continue watching the next 22 minutes.
I'm not going to tell you how to live your life, but I am going to tell you you're wrong about the theme song.
All right. So not going to win this 2-1. That's fun.
It's all right. I'm just looking up toys now.
Were there actually any toys for ChalkZone? Really?
Yes. There's one picture here that I found online. I believe it's the third one that came up under the ChalkZone toys search that has a plethora of options.
Oh, wow.
Snap.
A lot of Jimmy Neutron stuff, too.
Well, but
Fairly Odd
it's
Parents.
interesting because if you look at that, it's Jimmy Neutron and who else is on there?
There's Team Rocket that's in there,
and
too.
and the
Rocket
kid,
Power.
Yeah,
Team
they
Rocket's
were
Pokemon.
bundling a lot of these together. There's a few where I think wild thornberries are represented up here. Yeah.
It's interesting that
Invader Zim.
for not being a Nicktoon, it's being marketed with other Nicktoons,
Yeah.
which is kind of, and it's still strange. It's still a little bit strange. So
And apparently it had a the gift toy that comes in Happy Meals or something like that, which is literally just a chalkboard with a piece of chalk.
That's a fucking letdown. Want to be like this guy, Rudy? Well, you can't.
really, who wants to be like Rudy to Booty?
Nobody.
Boo.
It's literally just a chalkboard and chalk.
That's so sad.
That was the gift pack that came along with your Happy Meal.
Oh my God.
Something that makes you so sad.
Shattering the hearts of children so loud. You could
Oh,
hear
that's
it
amazing.
when you were sleeping.
So I will say the one thing before we get into this episode, and there's a lot to talk about. And I want to say the interesting thing about how this is really broken up is that there are, in this one episode that we watched, there were 4 separate pieces for this show.
Yes.
And that's how a lot of these episodes were organized, were that they had maybe somewhere between 1 to 2 like major or longer stories, like kind of one almost like vignette, and then in our episode it kind of rounds out and is completed by a weird kind of musical number
Holy.
that didn't make that was confusing. That was confusing to say the least. So
former guest on the show and good friend of mine, Mike Visser, and I watched this episode together, and
I'm so sorry, Mike.
he was over it by the end of the first vignette.
Oh my God.
And when we got to the music video, he literally goes, "Oh, good, and now we get a music video." Palate cleanser.
Releasing their Tower to Records hit.
The Ha song. Or
I
whatever
Can
it was.
Has Laughs.
Right.
No, it was the music video was called like I Can Has Laughs.
Yeah.
It is called "It Is to Laugh."
Very close. Where you go to the
I
Ha-ha
don't know.
spa.
I don't know.
Oh my God.
It is to laugh.
It is to laugh.
Anyway.
So we should say that the episode that we watched is, I believe it's in season 4, and the first part is called Reggie the Red, followed by Vincent Van No-Go. Then the smaller vignette that we had, which was Superhero Snap, and the music video that we had is called It Is to Laugh.
It is to laugh.
So they were all... It was interesting, and I will say the reason that I picked this episode after doing a bunch of internet research, it was really because of the Vincent Van Gogh aspect of the second larger episode that was inside this this main episode. I was very curious to kind of see how a lot of this worked and sort of the homage that they would pay towards a classic painter, and to really see what that was. But first, I kind of wanted to touch on Reggie the Red.
Yes.
So this was a little bit of an interesting episode. Tony, did you have any major takeaways from this one?
Mostly that I don't understand what amalgamation was supposed to come out of. Was it Reggie Nerd Bull or Bull Nerd?
Bull Nerd.
Reggie Bullner.
Reggie Bull Nerd.
Which is literally, they put in his name the 2 stereotypes that they tried to combine in this, which was a bully and a nerd. And it's just, I don't get it. It's not a character that I've ever come across. It's not a standard trope. Like, the only thing I can equate it to is Revenge of the Nerds when Ogre becomes one of the nerds. Like, that is the closest, like, a parallel that I can draw to what this character is. He's basically, like, an idiot nerd. Like, they dress him in kind of, shirt and tie and sweater vest type look. And
he is very well dressed for a 10-year-old.
For a 10-year-old with teeth that look like a city skyline coming out of the bottom of his mouth.
He's the worst underbite.
and literally looks like he had a head twice as tall as it was, and somebody literally chopped it in half and left this just crop of hair on the top of his head that is starting to split off. It looks like somebody chopped down a tree, and it's just the remaining stump sitting atop his shoulders.
The difficult thing, I think you have pegged Reggie perfectly in terms of his last name consists of the two tropes that the first a bully, which he is, and then a nerd, which is interesting to see him work with that nerd aspect of who he is to try to be a very well-spoken and respectable person, which I don't think sometimes is a nerd quality. I think that's just manners or being polite.
He's not a well-spoken person.
Yeah.
Well, he's not well-spoken, but he's polite to adult figures, to authority figures that he's around, being like his teachers.
I mean, he said he was sorry for, like, slashing his teacher with a paper tree, but I wouldn't call him
And who hasn't gone to detention for a paper cut?
I mean, that teacher...
It's a very offensive motion.
Fucking balls. You got a paper cut, you don't send a kid to detention.
To fill out those wire-legged pants that he's wearing.
Oh my god.
Oh god,
so
those
bad.
are terrible.
So bad.
The character design on the teacher is just... I don't know where they were going with that, but they gave him these, like, long, lanky Yosemite Sam style bent out legs, this tiny little torso, and a nose that I think was longer than his torso, and a creepy porn stash right underneath it. And that is the authority figure that shows up for all of about 10 seconds in this show.
Shows up for to set the scene. Reggie and Rudy, which I thought it was interesting that they were both R names. At least that there was that alliteration between their first names.
Yeah.
So we have Reggie and Rudy who are arguing. Now, this is the point that I'm going to come back to, is that they are in the midst of a conflict. They're in the middle of arguing over an art project that they have, and their teacher comes over, and he sort of tries to intervene in terms of what's happening. And as he is being as diplomatic between these two students as possible, he ends up getting that paper cut. Ends up getting this like small, tiny little paper cut and makes it out to be a giant deal. Now, that was the first point where it kind of lost me. I was like, all right, look, you're a teacher, and you're working with an art project. Like, those things are going to happen. Like, kids are going to get into arguments. There's going to be a heated discussion, especially when anybody ever works in a group.
I was gonna say this is like my worst nightmare realized. And the only thing that I want to do when I'm in a group project is slash the teacher. Like, just cut the bitch up into pieces.
With something far more substantial than a piece of paper.
Exactly. Than a paper tree.
I have never thought that way. Anytime I've ever been in a group project, my immediate mindset is always, oh, cool, well, I'm doing all this work now for this group project.
It's how can I carry the idiots in this group?
I want to say that there has honestly been only one instance where I've worked in a group project setting where I felt like everybody else was pulling their own weight. And I just want to say thank you, Lyle, and thank you, Brandon, for being honest and respectable and dependable human beings. But I mean, other than that, like, working in a group project, that setting is always the worst. Right. It's always terrible. So we have this little bit of an argument. They have this tiff. There's a backlash where this teacher gets and sustains a paper cut. And then he immediately punishes Reggie for said paper cut and makes him do the classic, I guess, 80s or 90s punishment where they have to write
lines on the board.
It's from every episode of The Simpsons.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
And so it was one of those crazy things where I was just like, all right, like, this seems... I guess it just seemed kind of out of place and out of time for me.
Yeah.
Like, who really punishes kids like this? But Reggie is
do
there.
kids even identify with that as a punishment method?
Yeah.
Is that still being done in schools?
No,
anywhere?
they have smart boards now. There's no chalk anymore.
In most cases, they're actually
copy paste.
Yeah.
I mean, I still feel like it's a trope
Yeah.
enough that people will identify with it, and that it is still a punishment. Yeah.
I dare say so because of The Simpsons.
I think it's probably because of
Because I don't see that in really any place else in pop culture any longer.
Yeah.
That repeated writing up on the board.
So we get to this point where he is being punished, and he's writing on the board. He goes, "I will not roughhouse with paper," over and over and over again. And Rudy is outside, and he's with Penny, and Rudy feels a little guilty. And Penny's like, "Well, maybe you should go in and offer to do some of the work, half the work for him, since you were working on half the project." Now, as a kid, I can understand guilt, and I can understand wanting to assist somebody where there's maybe a little bit of responsibility on your part. But Rudy seriously looks at Penny, and he just goes, "Nope, I'm gonna go to ChalkZone and go pterodactyl parasailing," and then just draws a circle. Which is, we should specify this because this is a convention that's used often in this show. So Rudy has a piece of white chalk that he can draw a circle in the real world, and it allows him to jump through and traverse his way over into ChalkZone. And once he's in ChalkZone, he is asked by the denizens of ChalkZone to erase that portal so that no other humans can come in, and also ChalkZonedians can't get out. That is the official term for ChalkZone people, ChalkZonedians.
Sure. We'll go with it.
So this is where some problems arise, is that lo and behold, almost as if it was fate, as Reggie is writing on the board, he loses his piece of chalk that falls underneath his teacher's desk. He reaches under, and what does he find?
The magic piece of red chalk.
Yes.
That's been waiting for him?
Which was weird, yeah.
Because the chalk came to him as if the force was drawing it to his hand. It just rolls across the floor and pops into his hand.
And it just happens to be red, like a Sith Lord lightsaber.
Ooh, you drawing some parallels here?
I'm drawing some parallels.
And then he
Episode
gets up
7 is going to be weird.
Yeah.
I love that he gets up and he looks at his hand and he goes, "I thought this chalk was white. Oh, well."
Oh, my God.
Yeah, that's the challenging thing with Reggie, and I think that was a great impersonation of him, is he just continually goes, "This is the thing that I'm doing right now." And you're like, ugh.
I picture two writers working on this side by side and going, "Yup, nailed it," and just high-fiving right there.
Hey, I really think that next Reggie should just be like, "And this is the thing that I'm doing." Okay. Got it? Got it? Got it? Did it.
Yes.
The best. Ugh. Somebody paid for their rent that month with that line.
With that line.
I
Scary.
think what's important that we should definitely mention is that before this piece of chalk was picked up, is that Reggie's like writing these lines out on the wall, and he is saying like, "No one's gonna tell me what to do," except not like that, because Reggie has a much different.
He's writing his 5-year-old kid manifesto in his mind.
Yeah, like fucking Marxism, and I don't know. And he says this right up front, and I take immediate notice of this because I'm like, all right, so this episode is going to be about, is it going to be about group projects, or is it going to be about people telling them what to do? Is it about sharing? Where are we going with this? And then we careen through the rest 3 minutes or however long this episode is. And
well, was there one specific thing that stood out to you? Because it's obviously not about group projects.
no, that's so.
Was there one? Because there was one definitive line that explained to me what this episode was about.
Okay.
I don't. Do you have anything from that, Melanie?
If you could explain to me what it's about.
Sure. So,
I have a comment about the larger conventions of these episodes, so keep going.
So there was one line that Reggie spoke, and I think he said this a couple times, which was, "Nobody will be able to tell me what to do."
That's
Yeah.
yeah.
And it just, like, that was the
That was the crux of the character. That is his.
Right. Is that what you were explaining?
That's what I just said. Like a minute ago.
Sean's hosting. He's having to put a fair amount of effort.
I know.
We miss you, Dave. We miss you.
Dave, come back.
So that Sean doesn't have to have host brain.
Oh boy.
No, but you're totally okay. But this is the thing is like I take notice of he says this no one will tell me what to do thing, and then he repeats that like over and over through the episode, and I just thought that was weird that like this is the thing that they're focusing on as opposed to like I thought the episode because of the conflict was going to be about like this is how we work together and this is what working together to create something is about, but really
it was a long walk to a reverse psychology revelation for him that I'll tell him not to do the thing that I want him to do, and that will win the whole day, and they do. That's how the episode turns out.
My theory about ChalkZone is that what they're trying to teach children is to be as squirrely as fucking possible in order to get what you want.
Well, I think the thing that bothered me the most. So going back to what I said earlier, I think the concept of this show is really interesting. The fact, I mean, it's an almost Legos type approach to things that you can create anything you want, you know, which is just I love that. There's a game that I play on my phone called Squiggle Knots.
Yeah.
Which is you type out whatever thing you want to exist in this world, and it creates it and brings it to life. And that's what the possibility of this show was. And yet in this very first episode, they get to a point where it's like, quick, Rudy, draw something to fight it off. And he goes, drawing's not the answer. I'm like, fuck no, it is the answer.
Yeah,
that's what the entire goddamn show is supposed to be about.
Oh
Why
God.
are you abandoning your post on this and then go with the lamest ending ever? It could have been so much more epic and fun, and then you could have had a lesson that comes at the end. No. Vignette's got to be out in 8 minutes.
Yeah. And it was confusing too because as you mentioned, you know, he has this ability to create anything. He can draw anything with this magic chalk. Mm-hmm. He has the opportunity to save the day, and instead he's just like, no, I'm going to use my wits. I'm going to use my brain. I'm going to do this. And so he tricks Reggie into giving up the red chalk, rescues the red chalk, Rudy takes the red chalk, puts it into a vase of water to dissipate and dissolve the chalk, and then throws it into Reggie's face to wake him up. And then Reggie has that moment where he's like, wait, was everything a dream? And they're just like, yeah, everything was a dream. He's like, okay. And that's...
Oh, and I love that he's like, and while you were asleep, I did half the work for you because I felt kind of bad. So this is great because he's just covering up for the fact that Reggie actually wrote all that stuff out and just has forgotten it.
Right. He hasn't done any work. He has not done he has not written a single line of I will not roughhouse with paper. He has now lied to Reggie. And so, honestly, the mixed message that's in this episode is reverse psychology works on dumb people. If you're ever in a position, lie about your group project to somebody else and tell them that you did all the work.
And if you ever feel guilty about anything, just do something worse.
Yeah, right?
Just push it down. Push it down.
Suppress it as much as possible.
As far as you can until it comes out through your poop.
Oh my God. Was there anything else specifically about Reggie the Red that was notable to either of you?
The only redeeming
Melanie?
moment about this episode is that we get a little Wilhelm scream, and that's the only thing I was excited about.
I missed it.
Oh,
Where
I
was
missed
that?
that.
So so Reggie the Red, he ends up going into a cave and like taking out a whole bunch of red chalk, mostly because the red chalk is actually controlling him, which is a large ironic piece to the thing of like, no one's gonna tell me what to do except for this chalk that I can't control.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Which is ridiculous. And so then he's got this like dump truck full of red chalk, and he starts wrecking havoc, and the dump truck like tosses trash at people, and like the denizens of ChalkZone, as you said, Sean, and ChalkZonians. And he throws some trash at a picnic, where the picnic foods are picnicking, which, good Lord, that's confusing. And then the trash...
Cannibalism,
and the trash explodes, and there's little cockroaches that, like, start carrying the picnic foods. It's like a hot dog and a hamburger, and they're, like, being carried.
Cupcake.
I thought they were fire ants.
Whatever, because they
Well,
went to
they
an
go
anthill.
into an
insects.
anthill.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they were like insects.
So when they went into the anthill, you get a little or whatever that
The Wilhelm scream is.
teeny tiny Wilhelm scream. And I was like, that's exciting.
I normally catch those things because I did catch sound effects wise in this one. There's right at the end when the red chalk tries to run away from Rudy's hand when he goes to grab at it and eventually destroy it. And he just does the Dikembe Mutombo like finger waggle at him, and it does the nose wiggle sound effect from Bewitched.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Oh, it does do that. You're right. Yeah.
Like that. So there were a few that I caught on to like that one, but I missed the Wilhelm scream.
We'll go back
That's a
and
classic one. I love that one.
We'll go back and listen to it later.
So, Melanie, you mentioned about catapulting picnic food at picnic food items that are picnicking, which is a mindfuck.
Oh, good Lord.
But that's a good way to segue into the next part of this episode that we had, which was Vincent Van No-Go, which is the whole discussion about vampire cannibals.
Yeah.
And how they are, quote unquote, too edgy.
They are too edgy.
Too edgy.
Leave them at home.
So Rudy has submitted a comic to a newspaper.
Yeah.
And he's received criticism saying that vampire cannibals is too edgy and that they are going to pass on his submission.
Rejection letter.
So he gets this rejection letter.
We've all gotten them.
Right. Who hasn't? Thank you, Warner Brothers, for sending me a bunch of them. I appreciate it. So it's,
Wait, for real?
Yeah, really. For writing packets and stuff like that I've submitted.
Oh.
Whatever. I'm gonna keep doing it. So he gets these rejection letters, about saying that vampire cannibals is too edgy. So so Penny is there with him, and she's like, "You need to chill out. Let's go hang out in ChalkZone." All right. So they get there.
You missed the part where he fucking flames out about this.
Does.
He, dare I say, falls apart.
Ooh.
Parallels.
Foreshadowing.
So he gets unbelievably angry about this to the point where you can almost tell like this is going to come into play. Like he's going to hopefully learn a lesson about understanding and acceptance a little bit later on. And so they go and they find the Chalk Stick Bakery, I believe, and it evidently has had some. It's got a new coat of paint on the exterior, which was reminiscent of Tony. Do you remember?
Wait, what do you mean?
No, I mean the artist.
Vince Van Gogh, of course. Yeah, sorry.
So
I didn't realize that was being held back from our audience.
No. So it's funny because we find out that it's in the style of Vincent Van Gogh.
Yes.
But it like those like very kind of like blocky, kind of like a lot of paint on the end of the brush, like broad strokes that he would make. And so it's something that looks unique and it looks interesting, and I'm intrigued. But there's a little bit of a debate because you find out that this is not Vincent Van Gogh, that this is actually a drawing that was done by Vincent Van Gogh of himself, a self-portrait that is Vincent Van No-Go, who is in there, which looks identical to Vincent Van Gogh.
And sounds like Brad Neely and Nick Nolte had a goddamn baby.
and who I honestly, so there are probably things that I missed in this episode because I spent a good half of this episode on my phone trying to figure out if that was Maurice LaMarche doing the voice, which I'm fairly certain it was. But he's not listed on IMDb for the show, so I'm not positive, but there wasn't necessarily a listing for that. And in fact, right now I still have my phone in my hand, so I'm probably going to search that.
I really hope it's Brad Neely because it just like, I cannot change. I will not change. I was like, endangered people, dear reader. I was like, it's the same guy.
Can we please call this character up from you in the future?
Yes, absolutely. I will do my best.
So he gets, Melanie, as you had mentioned, he gets so upset over a small request from the owner of this bakery that what happens? You've kind of already foreshadowed.
Well, so Vincent Van Gogh paints the entrance sign over the window, and the stick figures are just like, "Hey, bro, listen, cool work, super dig it. Could you just maybe ask people to enter through the front door instead of the window?" Mm-hmm. And No Go flames out, literally falls apart, like all pieces, like
starts throwing parts of himself at them,
like a fucking Mr. Potato Head.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Just explodes, and then says this line like, "I cannot change, I will not change." And I'm like, okay, so now we have an episode which is supposed to be about accepting criticism, but we're talking about like changing who you are fundamentally. And like, I guess those things are related. Like, I don't know. And then
well, I mean, I think it's hard because like we've all been in positions. We are all professionals. We've all had the opportunity to go to school. Mm-hmm. We have all received criticism and constructive criticism at some point in time.
Absolutely.
But I will say this: I have never gotten to the point where I've been so upset over a response to something that I've created or written, where I've literally fallen to pieces. I also haven't like figuratively fallen to pieces either. I think I've been upset and angry about something regarding criticism.
But your ears never fallen off.
Yeah, but my ears never fallen off.
Which I thought was oddly perfect for Vincent Van Gogh, is that they're a torso, head, legs and arms bouncing down the street, and then an ear following them.
Right.
Well, clearly, Sean, you've not received a degree in theater. Otherwise, their sole purpose is to make sure your entire being crumbles and then is born anew from the ashes.
Oh, so you went to the University of Phoenix?
I went
Online.
Online.
Subsidiary of San Francisco City College.
Oh, boy.
But yeah, we've all received criticism. I'm going to venture to say that No Go took it too far. He took it in a negative way, and it's fun to kind of see the parallel between No Go as well as Rudy's reaction, where he flames out at the very beginning of the episode. Mm-hmm. You think to yourself, like, how is this going to resolve itself? How is this going to eventually come to fruition?
Yeah.
So you find out that he has a brother, that Vincent Van Gogh has a brother named Theo that puts him back together when he's too upset.
Theo No Go.
And so
Theo Van Gogh.
Yeah. Theo Van Gogh.
Well, Van Gogh. So it's like they own a vehicle that's just sitting out front that won't move.
They came over.
That's a good surname.
When they came over to this country, their surname was Theo. There was Van Engine Dead, but then they came and they were just like.
When they went over through Chalk Ellis Island, they were like, "We really need to naturalize you in a way that's going to be appropriate for the denizens."
I'm sorry, you can't have the last name Shitty Truck.
I'm sorry, your last name's a little too complex. It's 89 Ford Probe. 89 Ford Probe, and then it says, then there's an umlaut, and that umlaut just says that has a transmission that's going to blow out within like 3 months. And that's hard. You can't really put that on a business card.
No. Or a license.
It's challenging as hell, bro. So we're just going to put No Go.
Yeah. Van No Go.
Because your last name is a No-Go.
Mm-hmm. So there's this whole ordeal that they have with being able to find Vincent's ear, which was sort of an unnecessary, almost like Scooby-Doo moment, where
we need to go find the ear.
Guess we need to go find the ear. where they're kind of like running around, like chasing after Rebecca DeVries to try to find this ear.
Wasn't it Rebecca Debris?
Was it Rebecca DeVries?
I don't know.
It was one of those names that they said it once, and then it was never again, and so
and you're supposed to know exactly what the name was.
Yeah. And there was a moment where I honestly thought,
we
like,
have to chant the name of the show at you, but we're not going to repeat any characters' names more than once.
Rebecca's got the ear. Rebecca's got the ear. Like, that was not the case. So they go through this whole thing. They finally resolve it. Does anybody remember how they specifically resolved the very end?
There was a trade.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a trade, absolutely. So Rudy makes a
portrait of Rebecca's dog.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Rebecca's all pissed off because Vincent Van Nogo did this great painting, but the eyes of the dog were wrong in her eyes. And listen, when you...
She asked for a change. Change?
Change? I don't make change. When you ask for a commission from an artist, though, you really have to respect... I feel like what the artist is gonna put at you.
Sure.
And it's like it's part of the gamble when you are asking someone. So she's all pissed because the eyes are red, and then Rudy reproduces the portrait, but makes the eyes of the dog green.
Green.
Mm-hmm.
And then they do a trade, and then Vincent Van Nogo flips out again.
Do you remember what his line was before he like hops off?
No, but please tell me.
He just goes, "Get away from me, all of you," and then just walks away. And that he like explodes again and then just leaves. And that was the end.
And that's the last we hear from him.
Yeah.
Like
that was it.
That's
it.
And what did you learn?
Not a goddamn thing. Not a goddamn thing. Being stubborn doesn't get you anywhere. I don't know. Being stubborn is mean.
The moral of the story is don't trust Nicktoons for your moral lessons.
Yeah, right.
The moral of the story is, again, just outwit the person so that you can get what you want.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, they have Penny at the very end kind of sums up what that lesson is. And she goes, you only just can't hear pray, or in reference to Vincent Van Nogo, she goes, he only seems to be able to hear praise,
criticism,
or you got this line right. not praise. Mm-hmm. And so that's they get back, and then suddenly Rudy realizes that there's a note that's on the back of his submission letter that he had for Vampire Cannibals, which was asking him to maybe tone some bits down, but then also resubmit, and they're requesting some more. Another pitch from him, which is the best thing to hear in those instances of, hey, look, I had this idea. I like that idea, but maybe tweak it just a little bit, and then send it back. Because I understand what you say about when you commission an artist for specific work, Melanie, and I think that you're right. If you tell an artist, like, this is the goal or this is the idea, and you've seen their body of work, you really kind of have to trust and rely on that artist to be able to create something. But when you're in the early planning stages of an idea and you're pitching it out to somebody, that has to remain somewhat flexible. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's very challenging because in this instance, we have Rebecca DeVries who is commissioning this dog portrait, and it didn't come out the way she wants. But she was angry enough over this catastrophe in her life to steal the artist's ear and make it a big thing.
Yeah, it's pretty shitty.
It's pretty shitty. In this other instance that we have, which is Rudy kind of pitching some of these new ideas, and he isn't getting what he wants, but he's also having that person say to them, like, this thing isn't finalized yet. It's not quite there, but we do have some comments about it, And I'll say this. The challenge, I think, for this between these two that they don't identify and talk about is related to experience. Vincent Van Gogh was an established painter, and Vincent Van Nogo, being the portrait or the chalk extension of such a great artist, at that point you understand what you're getting, and if you don't get exactly what you want, you should really be satisfied that you got an original Van Gogh to begin with, or a Van Nogo to begin with. Comparatively to Rudy, he's starting out his career. He's a 10-year-old. He's in 5th grade. He's working on vampire cannibalism, which I'm going to be honest with you is a terrible idea.
Oh yeah.
I think it's an awful idea. So he's getting ready to do this. And you know what? I drew a lot of cartoons, and that's why I found this show so relatable. I drew a lot of cartoons when I was that age, in between 4th grade and, say, 8th grade. I drew all the time. And it was something where when I look back on some of those things that my mom has saved, I have to laugh because they were garbage.
Oh, yes.
They were terrible.
My sisters will never let me live down. I have this one that's like, I want some pie. Here,
What?
here comes the staff, which was my "Here Comes the Chef," bringing out the pie. And this was a cartoon that I drew and put in some little storybook when I was a kid. And so my sisters love, I want some pie.
Oh my god, that's
Oh my God,
amazing.
that's awesome.
But yes, never live that down.
That's awesome.
All right. So was there anything else that stuck out for either of you regarding Vincent Van Gogh?
I think we forgot the part in the beginning when Penny gets real sexy with Rudy.
Does she?
And I'm surprised again.
And she takes the chalk out, sticks it in his hand,
And then writes with it.
and I had a ghost moment there for a minute.
I had like a weird Color of Money moment with like Tom Cruise like teaching people how to play pool, and he like gets real close behind them.
Yeah.
And he's just creeping in there.
It was
She
great.
has to take the chalk out of his back pocket.
Yeah, that's hot.
Little stroke of the ass cheek.
A little butt touch.
Ladies
and
can
then-
be creeps too.
And then lays it into the palm of his hand and curls his fingers around the chalk.
No, now all of a sudden everybody remembers this moment, but I had to bring it up. You're all welcome.
Oh my
Oh,
god.
I repressed it until you brought it back up.
My first note on this episode, ooh, Penny is getting fresh and sexy. Fresh and sexy.
And
That's all I
she
had
speaks
there.
through her braces.
Yep. Oh, boy.
Oh god.
Glad I missed that.
Kids, you should learn braces can be sexy.
They can.
They can be. There.
I'm glad there's no kids listening to this.
I hope not. So we have 2 additional pieces at the end of this episode, and I know that we're running short on time, and so I do want to address them. So we have one quick short that was called Superhero Snap.
Yeah.
Anything notable or memorable from that for you?
That one
Tony?
that one kind of blew by, and I think was just eclipsed by the music video.
Yeah. Do we want to just table Superhero Snap and get right into this music
here's
video
what
thing?
I don't understand is like, why include something that has absolutely no lesson to it? Like everything else.
Because
It's
it was
almost like they-
preceded by 2 things that had
Well,
no
yeah.
lesson.
I know. Well,
But they almost could have not included Superhero Snap
Yeah.
and spent a couple more minutes writing a theme or a lesson or a message into these other episodes. But they were just like, no, Superhero Snap. I feel like, again, there were some writers that were in the writer room that were just like, hey, we're going to do like a real quick, like 2-minute, like
Wait, seriously?
Yeah. Just like Superhero Snap. We're going to introduce some other characters. It's going to be real quick. We're going to bring a major brand back into the fold.
Dude, that's brilliant.
All right, cool. High five.
High five.
Done. Like it didn't make a lot of sense, and it wasn't something. I will say this. It was nice because it gives you a glimpse that without Rudy, life in the world still exists in ChalkZone.
Right.
That like there are still happenings and things go on, and they have their own adventures, albeit there are little to no stakes in any of the things
No.
that occur because anybody in ChalkZone can be flattened or run over. It's the same sort of cartoon physics that apply in Warner Brothers cartoons, are applicable in ChalkZone.
Yeah.
But really not for humans that are in ChalkZone, just the people, the ChalkZonians. So I don't know. This Superhero Snap was kind of really a throwaway for me. When I was done watching it, I was like, what was that?
yeah.
I probably the thing I took away from it most was trying to determine why was she called Major Brand.
Don't know.
Yeah.
And I was like, so somebody's gonna come in here and be called like generic alternative? Like,
Yeah.
Commandant Costco. It's like, what the fuck is this?
who is Sergeant Kirkland?
Oh god. All right. So all of this is leading up to the point because everything up to this point for me was okay, but then it's all sort of overshadowed by this next weird music video that goes on that left me scratching my head for the last 4 hours. So let's talk about this. This section, or this little piece, this vignette is called "It Is to Laugh."
It is to laugh.
I'm going to say laughter was something that definitely did not occur after I watched this.
No, nothing happened.
It could have been, it is to reconsider doing this podcast anymore because I don't want to watch crap it was bad. It was really bad.
So the entire, for those of you that just want to cut out when that comes up, which we would not be offended if you chose to do so. Really, you could cut out for Superhero Snap as well, but between the two, Superhero Snap's probably the better one. It's eclipsed by how awful this was. The backstory, it is essentially a 1.5-minute long song where a bunch of the characters from the ChalkZonians, if you will, are trying to get a goat to laugh. That is the entirety.
That's the entire premise.
It's a bitchy goat, and they're trying to get him to just crack a smile and laugh. And they're just doing it by laughing. And I've never found laughter just for the sake of laughing to be infectious. That quite the way that they seem to have generated this idea that all this batshit crazy. They're riding yo-yos. They're
So I don't know if anybody or I have these notes. So they run into what seems like a castle or a large.
It's the Ha-Ha Spa.
It's the Ha-Ha Spa.
Yes, I know this because that is what was written on the bus that he was brought in on.
Oh god, so
that hurts my brain.
They get into the Ha-Ha Spa, and there is they're running. They are not pausing to look at any things that are happening. No. They are bolting through this at breakneck speed. So there is and I say breakneck because the first two things that happen, I was like, okay, like I can see in terms of like older or maybe like very traditional comedic sensibilities. I can see, like, if you're a young child, I can see how you'd find that funny. The third thing was a little bit weird. So the first thing is a pig jumps on a whoopee cushion.
It's not the first thing that happens.
What's the first thing?
The first thing that happens is that they take him off the bus and they put him into a dentist chair. They stick a thermometer in his mouth and they hit him and poke him with a bunch of things. And then they take him off the chair. Like you do. And then they take him off the chair and then into a room where there's a pig
jumping onto a whoopee cushion. So then, next room, there is a penguin on a treadmill getting hit in the face with pies. And then this is what was a little bit confusing. This next piece, there is a moose that is having feathered chickens slapped on his butt. It's like on a rotating conveyor belt, and it looks like it's creeping right up in between the middle of his butt cheeks, and it's making him laugh. And I was like, what kind of weird fetishist stuff is going on in this Ha-Ha Spa? I didn't know. I had to go back and watch it 3 times, and each time I was like, I have so many more questions about what the fuck is going on here. It didn't make sense to me.
What happens after the moose butt slap?
They get into a room where a bunch of hands come out of the wall, and they proceed to tickle them.
That's creepy as fuck.
Creepy as shit. It's like the hands from Zelda. Legend of Zelda, they just like come out and pull you back. It's just a hand that comes out, and then it strategically goes under each of their armpits and like their bodies, and then just starts creepily like Cosby tickling, and you're like, oh, the fuck is going on here? And then those same hands pull them in and throw them into a yo-yo out the side of the Ha-Ha Spa, and then they place down like in the where they began, like out in this courtyard. And then they're there, and then everybody's kind of like laughing and like joking. And we should mention Rudy is dressed like a fucking clown.
Rudy's dressed like a clown. So is Penny.
Penny's dressed like a nurse.
They're all in doctor's uniforms. Keep going, and then I have a thing to say.
And so then they get
to laugh.
They get to this point where they're all kind of like waiting for this goat. We should mention this goat is going along for this entire ride, and he is pissed. Yeah, he is not loving a single moment of this. Gets to the very end, and then finally it all comes to a head because the goat just begins like laughing hysterically.
The goat gives up the ghost. You're welcome.
Thank you. He just begins cracking up, and it was something that I don't know. It didn't register for me at all, and it felt creepy watching it. I feel
And now
like,
we get a music video.
And now we get a music video.
I was so...
I think that this could have been more successful if
They didn't do it.
they didn't do it at all. If option A, they didn't do it at all.
If abort.
So it's so confusing because the first thing I thought of was like a torture camp.
Well, that's jumping to extremes.
And I don't mean to jump to extremes, but like they forcibly take this goat, which I had no idea was unhappy. You know what I mean? Like there's no context for this. Out of a bus, seemingly like he's been kidnapped, thrown into a chair to be like examined for health reasons, and then
Poked and prodded, quite literally.
And then brought through this acid trip, tossed around. And it's like when things are coming at you that fast, there's no way they can be pleasurable at all. And it feels like the writers, our bro writers, sat in a room and they were just like, okay, man, here we go.
Wait, okay, yeah.
Okay. Pig on a fucking whoopee cushion.
Oh my god.
And then we've got like a fucking penguin getting pies in the face because that's classic.
Oh, yeah.
Totally classic.
Love that.
And then moose butt stuff.
What?
And then yo-yo.
Moose
And we're
butt
done.
stuff.
We're done.
Wait.
Back up. Re-explain that moose butt stuff.
Oh, yeah, wait, do that one again.
No.
I'm gonna need to come down off the moose butt stuff. So can we have a tickle room somewhere in between that?
We got them fingering all the characters.
Cosby tickle.
Guys, I just drank like a bunch of Nas energy drink, and I'm like all amped up right now for the moose butt stuff. So
Yeah,
like, can we mellow the vibe out with the tickle room?
Yeah, please. Let's just bring it back down. But dude, I think you're onto something.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yep.
That's what happened. They were like, this all sounds hilarious. And then they animated it and they were like, oh no, guys, this is not funny at all.
Not funny at all.
Nothing is funny.
Oh, it was different. So, this is a great point to ask. Tony, would you recommend this show?
Drum roll, please.
Based on the episode that we've watched.
No. I can't. I wish I could, because I do. I still think the premise, the concept of it is very good. It's got a lot of possibility. It doesn't deliver a goddamn bit of it. Like there's nothing redeeming about this show in the least. The animation style is meh. The music is meh. The characters are pretty bad. Bordering on deplorable, but not so much so like Master Shake style to at least be funny in that regard. No, they're just kind of. It doesn't do anything for me.
Melanie, would you recommend ChalkZone?
I'd like to write an audio postcard for my recommendation.
Okay.
Sure, please. By all means.
The front of this postcard is just a little boy throwing up.
Little chunks of vomit.
Little chunks of vomit. In the chunks of vomit, there are like random things you'd see in everyday life. So there's like a toy doll and like a dog's ear and an oven and a car. And then the back of the card, what I will write is, "Dear makers of ChalkZone, re-examine your choices. I wish we could go back in time and rewrite this whole series. I'm sorry, we can't. Very respectfully," and then sign my name.
Very well done. Very well done.
That's what I would do.
So I'm going to assume that's a no.
No, absolutely
Oh, there was a third page. It's just the word no in gigantic letters.
It's the word no.
I'd like to deliver mine in terms of skywriting.
Okay.
Yes,
And
please.
it would just say nope.
Nope.
Because I think we're 3 for 3 on this.
Nope.
No, don't waste your time,
Nope,
guys.
nope zone.
Listen, there are...
Who got the nope? Rudy got the nope.
There are...
That's well written.
Oh, that was good.
Shitty high five.
High five.
So yeah, I agree. I agree with all of you. I think Tony brings up the biggest point that I had, which is that I love the premise for this show, and it was relatable to a younger me in terms of the content. and the things that they were doing, but just the execution, nothing paid off. So let me now ask the next question. I'm gonna start with Mel this time, and I think I know what the answer is gonna be. If they were to reboot this series, would you be a yes or a no? If you were the person in charge, would you green light them rebooting ChalkZone?
Question back to you. Am I a part of the creative team?
Do I get veto?
Do I get any power?
I'm gonna say yes for this. I'll say yes for this.
I would definitely, if I was in control, I'd reboot the series because I am in agreement with Tony here. I like the concept is so cool, and I think it has a lot of potential. And I really just think they shot the bed. They had this really great thing, and then they just fucking wasted it.
Yeah.
And I also just want to point out that agreeance is not a word.
Your mom. I had no comeback.
Did you say your Maham as a comeback? That was brilliant. You made your comeback to him. I'm sorry, picking on you for making up a word was to make up a relative.
I'm going to put myself into an envelope and mail myself home.
Oh, that is my classic escape tactic.
I know it is.
Oh my god.
Stealing it. Goodbye.
Take it.
God. I'm
Tony,
sorry.
same question to you as well, sir.
Assuming that I've got some creative control in the mix, I think it's a great concept. I love that it's something you can literally go anywhere with. And yet they choose to go directly into the shitter with the version that we watched. But there is so much potential. There's so many different ways that you could take this and grow it out. What is?
I feel like Melanie is now Googling agreeance to see if it is definitely not a word.
It is definitely a word. You both can go fuck yourselves.
Yeah, please look up Maham.
I'm sure that's a thing.
Oh my god. All right.
It is the actor state of agreeing, so you both can die about that.
Tony, I will agree with you as well,
Yes.
and Melanie, that I think that great premise, very relatable. If they were to refocus this show in a way, I would love to see a reboot, but I would absolutely discourage them from ever doing any of these music videos anymore to cap off these episodes. So that wraps it up for everything for ChalkZone.
Except for the fact that Maham is a city in India. So there's that.
Tony, what do you have going on, and where can I find you on the WWW?
Yeah, so you can find me at Big Tony VT on Twitter, and what we've got coming up, working on, we'll actually be doing 72 Fest. I have this wonderful writer named Sean Ellis that's going to be joining me for
Who's
the
that
process.
asshole? Tell me more about him.
Well, you live with him, so no, it's we're looking forward to now. I think this sixth year, I guess, that we've done 72 Fest, and we've got a pretty good track record of being a finalist for Best of the Fest each year. And this year we have an amazing cinematographer coming down to join us from Philadelphia, my friend Paul Hinson. So really looking forward to seeing what we get to put together this year. So I look forward to seeing you in a couple weekends, Sean.
I will see you in a couple weekends as well. Melanie, what do you got going on? Where can I find you on the web?
You can find me on the web at Melanie Gwynn, where you can see pictures of my mundane existence. Same goes for the Twitters. You can find me at Melanie Gwynn on the Twitters. And I am learning to master latte art, and so far it's not going well. It's really not going well. You know what's fucking terrifying? Steaming milk. That shit is scary as fuck, and it gets everywhere, and it smells like your dead grandma's butt, and it is scary.
Strong words about coffee.
That's what they don't tell you about being a barista.
But
Wow. So
I'm gonna write an expose when I'm done with this work.
well, thank you, Melanie.
No problem.
Appreciate it. As for me, I am going to be, as Tony mentioned, writing for 72 Hour Film Fest. That is the Maryland 72 Hour Film Fest. I am also going to be performing some improv in the DC area. Right now we have the Women's Voice in Comedy.
Women's Voice in Theater.
Women's Voice in Theater,
Festival.
comedy. Festival that is going on here in Washington, D.C. We have a very special show that's at WIT right now, which is called October Issue, and I am very fortunate to get a chance and opportunity to play with some of the ladies who are in that show. So that's definitely, please go check that out, witdc.org. I'm also going to be doing some shows alongside of October Issue. So on Thursday the 8th, you can check me out performing with Knox, as well as also October the 9th. And then I am going to be performing for the Philly Improv Festival this year. So you can come up and see me. We same improv troupe, Knox, N-O-X, and we are going to be performing in Philadelphia for Fifth. And that is going to be on November the 7th. And I believe we are the 10 p.m. show. We're adults, so just Google Philadelphia Improv Festival. I don't know what their website is.
That's cool.
I will put it on the website. But you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Sean Paul Ellis. I want to also mention that Dave Trumbore is sadly not with us this evening for
He's still
ChalkZone.
alive.
He's still alive.
He's
Totally still alive.
He's not dead that we're aware of.
He messaged me and said he is sleeping for 14 hours straight due to some illness. Okay. So we hope he is feeling better. But we want to also mention that Dave is still over at Collider. Dave writes for Collider.com and does a lot of wonderful television reviews that they have that are available on the site for awesome shows that are going to be coming back in a couple of weeks, such as Arrow, Flash. I know he got roped into doing some Gotham stuff, which is much to his chagrin, as the show Gotham is bad. And so
I like Gotham. I'm sorry.
It's fine. So please go over to Collider.com and you can check out more of the work of Dave, and you can find him on Twitter at Dr. Claw MD. As always, for everybody that's here at Saturday Morning Cartoons, you can find us out. We are on Facebook. We are search Saturday Morning Cartoons, Morning with You. We're also on Twitter under Morning Tunes. You can check out some of my handiwork that I do over on the Tumblrs. That's SaturdayMorningCartoons.tumblr.com. If you have any questions or suggestions or comments, please feel free to send us an email, SaturdayMorningCartoons@gmail.com. And you can also check out SaturdayMorningCartoons.com for more information and a link to all the things that we've mentioned regarding 72 Fest, as well as WIT DC and the shows that they have that are coming up that are in this area. So I'd like to finally thank Melanie and Tony for also being on this show to talk about ChalkZone. So thank you both
for having me back.
Thank you guys both very much. And next week is going to be, we're still trying to figure this out. It's either going to be the conclusion of our September back to school, or there is a particular movie that is coming out next month that is based on a very popular kids cartoon from the 80s. And so we are debating whether or not we are going to do one or the other. So it's going to depend on scheduling. So bear with me while we either talk more about Schoolhouse Rocks or we talk a little bit more about Gem and the Holograms.
Whoa!
So from everybody here at Saturday Morning Cartoons, thank you guys so much, and we'll talk to you next week. Bye.